We go. All right, welcome back everybody. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're having some great trades because yeah, after what happened yesterday, let's go to the spot price action and let's talk about what we've seen happen yesterday, what we were expecting, and now also what is to be expected as a continuation. Where are we going from here? So, what we were looking at yesterday, let me zoom this out a little bit. Maybe I can clean up the chart first just a little bit to make it readable again, because this is one big mess, right? Let's do like this, and let's do like this, like so. Voila, and maybe this one as well. Voila, shebang! There we go. This is already a little less of a mess. Now, yesterday we were looking at this formation here, was starting to shape up like a rising triangle. And as we discussed before, rising triangles usually have the tendency to break to the upside, because what this shape does is actually retesting the resistance line at the top, this red resistance line. And as we are reaching down again and again, price gets bought up at higher and higher prices, which indicates that there is much more buying pressure to the upside than there is pressure to the downside. Now, once we reached above the triangle shape, what happens usually is that price tries to set some sort of support that came out of the resistance line, resistance turning into support, in order to build up momentum so that we can see more highs coming in. Now, this goes together with the shape of the RSI that is trying to create at least a little bit of a divergence that will push price even more to the upside. Now, after we've seen this, how high can we go? The next area of resistance is we set it here at 19,800 and what is it, 7,880 something. Where does this come from? This is not just something that we've been imagining. Let's dial back a little bit. Yeah, there we go. This is the previous all-time high. Maybe we can set it a little bit lower. Yeah, just like this. So the previous all-time high, this is basically the next area, the next key area where traders are automatically going to try to sell off some of their profit. So there is going to be some reaction once we reach this high. But now, of course, is the question, are we actually really going to reach this high? Because on the 12-hour chart, we do see a series of bearish divergences that have been building up. Wait, let me adjust the chart a little bit. Yeah, our series of bearish divergences coming from here, here, and here, right? So what do we need to negate these signals? What we would need is for RSI together with price to try and make a higher high so that this entire structure of lower highs gets broken. Question is, of course, how high do we need to get? And this is something we are going to calculate with the reverse calculator that we love to use so much. But before we go into all this, there are a few other things that I would like to turn your attention to. Number one, let's extend this line here on the stochastics. The stochastic indicator is a momentum indicator, like we all know. So being stuck here in the higher range, as long as we are stuck in the bullish control zone, we will see price moving higher and higher. So upside basically is still in the cards. But the question is, how high are we going to go? Are we going to try to make a little bit more of a high that doesn't create a higher high here on the RSI? Probably this will indicate that we are going to start trending down a little bit again, at least until RSI cools down and that we are able to make a bullish divergence, resetting the whole structure again, or we are going to see so much price action that actually we are going to make a higher high, and then we could, on the same opportunity, see price cool down a little bit without needing to form a bullish divergence with any one of those local lows here. So then we could just create a structure that would cool down a little bit and go back for another run. Yeah, this was a mess. I'm sorry. But that's how it goes, and I think this is the plan that we need to start building upon. Let's go into more details now, and let's try to see if we can set a few levels, a few key areas that we want to keep our eyes on, areas where we could start expecting some reaction, and then building off of this reaction, we can deduct whether we are going to see more highs, more continuation to the upside, or if bit by bit it's going to start cooling down a little bit of going sideways with maybe the possible dip to the downside and then building up again from there. So where do we start? First of all, let's look at the highs, because we're bullish right now and we want to know how high we can get, right? So let's start with this. Let's make this a little more beautiful like that. Yeah, excellent. So the highs we want to break, there are a few ones that could already potentially give us some positive momentum. That's this one. This is the little one. This could already, if we break it, give price the opportunity to keep going, maybe cool down and then go even higher. And of course there's the big one right here, this one here, coming from a very low area. If we look at this high on the RSI has been formed here at what is it, 13,000 range. Right now we are sitting at 18,000, almost 19,000. So that's almost $6,000 difference. That's it's quite a ways away. So let's have a look. Let's calculate. This is the 12-hour chart. Let's do it afterwards on the 4-hour chart, maybe the 3-hour chart, and finally the 1-hour chart, to see if we can see some local movement and have a little bit of a plan to build our expectations upon. Yeah. So let's go first with the low one here to see on a shorter term what we could expect or what we want to see from this move here. So this is sitting at 83, and here the local high, let's pick the highest one. Yeah, let's do an average. So 83, 87, 87, yeah, 87. 87 is gonna do it. So first we said 83. Let's have a look. And this would set us at 19,775. And guess what? Guess what? This is almost close to where this red line is. You see, so things are starting to line up. Local RSI reads and then former limits, they start to line up both very nicely together. So I think this is a key area, especially to keep our eyes on. Are we gonna be able to break it? Very, very important area. Now let's look at the past high on the RSI, and we said it was 87, right? So let's look at 87. 87 is going to be a whole way higher, 21,000. So you know what? Let's start reshaping this thing. Let's go for 21,000. There we go. All right. Now, what does this mean? On a longer time frame, at the 12-hour frames, the 12-hour candles, if and when we see price actually entering the blue box, what we don't want to see is a rejection from the blue box, because this would initiate more continuation, more pressure to the downside. If we actually manage to break above, the 1-hour candles and the lower time frame candles could still help us go above, but the 12-hour, if we start closing outside the box again, I think this is where where we need to start thinking a little bit more in the direction of at least a correction to the downside. So this blue box area, we're gonna keep it, and let's have a look at the lower term time frames, and let's see what those have to say. So on the 4-hour chart, what do we have? We have this one, little local high, and especially this one, which is a very significant one. So let's go with those two, and let's see what the average kind of tells us. So here we're at 73.4, and this one 84.3. So 73.4. Here we go. Let's have a look. And 18,900. So yeah, that's already a little bit lower. This is basically just breaking the high of the former high of this wick, which is not bad. So yeah, creating a new higher high could already help keep the momentum going. Yeah. Now let's look at this one here. That's 84.3. 84.3, and that's the one we need to break. This is sitting at 20,200 more or less. So yeah, also within the blue box area. So we really need to get at least inside this blue box area to be able to expect a little bit more of a continuation. Basically, I would decide to take some profits within this blue box area and then just wait it out and see what's gonna happen. If we start closing above the blue box, beautiful. This is where I would be looking to enter a new position. But as long as we don't break it, I think this is kind of the line in the sand for me on my trading perspective, how I would start looking at this to set my strategies. But of course, you know, we're talking to big boys here, and you know, each and everyone has their own ways of setting up their strategies. I'm just looking at key areas where we can expect some sort of reaction, or where we can start putting some expectations at least to a reaction. Now let's go down. Let's look at the 3-hour chart. Let's see what this one has to say. So for the 3-hour chart, you see that RSI is painting a completely different picture. This area is not really a local high anymore. So we're going to disregard this one. And yeah, we're sitting at 83.84 again. So yeah, same thing. This one is 21,000. So this is actually the top of the blue box is sitting perfectly at the edge of 21,000. So again, you see how the different reads are gonna start to line up and agree with each other. So I think this confirms that this area here is actually a very key area to keep our eyes on. Now, on the downside, there's a lot of potential areas where we could start bouncing off of. Especially after such a nice run up, it's impossible to see price just do this and break down all the way down. Unless everybody starts to lose faith in Bitcoin and everybody dumps all together, which of course is always possible. Don't misunderstand me. But this is also why I prefer to trade Bitcoin, because it has the largest volume, it has the biggest amount of traders, which gives us kind of at least the security that, you know, breaking down like this is not going to happen overnight. If you look at the mini tiny altcoins, then yeah, there are a few where, you know, just one person with big pockets dumping all his bags on the market could completely crash the market. But here we are really talking about big numbers. So yeah, I don't think this is to be expected. Even looking at the bigger picture, just on the 3-hour chart, there are so many opportunities to see RSI make a bullish divergence, because look at these lows coming from here. Like, don't think that creating a lower low is going to require for price to dump this low. And this is kind of what we are going to look at on a closer view, just to have a little bit of our expectations set again, and then we can readjust the blue boxes in line with what we could expect. Okay, now let's start. Where do we begin? Basically, let's start with the 1-hour chart to see where we can get a little bit of a resistance, because the 1-hour chart is not as powerful as the higher term time frames, but at least we can expect, we can chart where some bounces are possibly going to happen. Now, one of the bounces already did happen, and I do believe this lines up with this part of the structure. I don't know if it's visible enough, but I don't think this is a strong enough read. I would prefer to look at the real spikes, like for instance this one coming from this area, and this one, maybe those two, because they are almost at the same level. So maybe this can gauge a little bit where to set this blue box. And then finally, we have a bigger one right here. So those are the areas I would like to draw our attention on, especially on the 1-hour chart, just to see where bounces could be expected. Now let's delete all these things before we are creating another mess. Well, there we go. Let's get going. This one is sitting at 44.7. Is it? No. 35.7. So let's have a look. 35.7. And what does the magic number thingy say? 18,200. So let's have a look at 18,200 like this. And since we're building off from this one, this is a rather large area already. There we go. We got this one set. Let's have a look at the next one. Should be here. 25.6. Let's call it 25. This would be sitting at 17,641. So let's slide this over to there. Yeah. 17,600. Let's do 17,630. Okay, so again we start having areas that are overlapping with each other. Okay, keep this in mind, because last time we had this structure of overlapping happening. It was at the same area here, and you know, price really bounced on it like it was literally on the dime. So very important area, and we're going to raise this up over here. Okay, now let's take another look at this one. 1885, and this would set us at 17,000. Oh, this would be straight on this area. Now I'm not going to draw a box for this one. What I'm going to do is use just the horizontals, because again, have a look. What is happening here is that the 17,000 area that we marked off comes together with the long wick we are seeing right here, and the intersection of the trend line. So possibly a very strong reaction coming from here. And how are we going to set the low? What I'm going to do is draw it here, and I believe this would be our point of no return. This is where actually breaking this area, this structure, yeah, you should have dropped your long position a long time ago. Possibly this one is not even going to be played in the cards right now. Let's remove this line. Let's remove this. Yeah, I think this is already good enough, because like I said, really breaking down this low, number one, it's not in the cards in the near future. Number two, remember, this is weekends we're talking about. During the weekend, usually what we get is a lot of ranging. So let's go up to the higher time frames. Let's have a look at the higher time frames, and let's see if they agree with what we have been looking at. So what did we get? Most important one, I think, is this structure here. So let's have a look. 43.4, and we're sitting at 18,000, call it. So let's have a look. 18,000 is here, and we were drawing from here. This is within those blue boxes, it could correspond, and we do have a major node sitting here. So basically, my guessing is the first blue box is going to be the one. This is what I'm starting to see here. And I would even be inclined to delete this one because it's just messing up everything, and we don't really need that. The green line, I would prefer to draw it a little bit lower, just in the middle between the low of this wick and the high end of this one, just to have our line in the sand and to see where things could start bouncing off of. And let's use this area here as well at 16,450 because it's potentially a nice area of support, maybe a little bit lower. Let's call it 16,400. If we really start breaking down below this this blue box, what I'm expecting is actually whoa, again with the drawings, huh? Like that. All right, so if we are actually ranging within this blue box, I think things could start picking up very nicely again. The thing is, if we actually break down below, I do think some resistance is going to build up before we see another swipe to the upside. If we start breaking below the white line here, maybe I should make it red. Maybe red would be better. So if we start breaking below the red line, I do believe we still are going to see price recover a little bit, at least a little bit, because after such a structure, there's no way we are going to break all the way below. But, and that's a very important but, if we get into one of these scenarios, everything is going to depend on how price will react to the upside to determine if we are going to recover or if the trend is going to change to the downside. Yeah, so right now, I would suggest dealing and acting with caution. Most important is maybe having the bottom of the blue box set as your stop loss, because once we break below, there is no way that we are going to recover in one straight shot. Yeah, so maybe this could be your area of safety where at least if we start breaking below, we shouldn't be expecting trend to change too quickly, so you don't have to be dragging your long position all the way down, waiting for when it's going to happen. On the other hand, as long as we are in this blue box, I still do believe nothing is broken because, and this is what I deleted earlier, where did I put it? This is the one, and I showed you guys this yesterday as well. This is another possibility of a trend that we are actually going to be respecting. The rising channel that has been building for quite some time. Okay, so, and because this is a weekend, sometimes it does happen that we just go retest the bottom of the channel before we start ranging up again. And guess what? This is actually perfectly within the range that we have been discussing. All right, so this is the Bitcoin chart for now. What I also like to compare to is the dollar strength index. And this is the Dixie. The market is closed over the weekend. So this is the weekly close that we are looking at right now. So let's go over to the weekly chart and let's see what this chart has in the cards. What do we see? We see, number one, that here on the lows, we did close on a horizontal line, but on the RSI, we are recovering to the upside. You could argue that this is not literally to the T a bullish divergence, but if we're going to go zoom in and really have a close look, then we actually do see that this here is a lower low compared to this, where on the RSI we are building higher lows. So if we have to look at it this way, this is a bullish divergence being formed. Now, on the shorter time frames, let's look at the 6-hour chart. Let's do like this. We do see a similar phenomena, not as strong, not as visible, but we do see the series of higher lows being printed on the RSI. And let's have a look even down below, a little bit lower. We do see here our bullish divergence, and then price actually starting to recover. So basically the dollar strength has a chance to be pulling through. Now, is it going to be a strong reaction? I do not think so, but at least the possibility of ranging could also agree with the possibility of ranging here sideways for Bitcoin, because both are usually correlated. So that gives it a little bit more of strength to this bias. Now, what is the good thing about it? If price is ranging like this, usually this gives the opportunity for the RSI to be cooling down as well. And this is where we have our area where we get a lot of buying opportunities, and this is then also going to be the catalyst to give us more uptrend. Of course, nothing is set in stone. Don't read it like this, but considering how we are really sitting at the lowest end on the volume profile, there is no resistance to the upside. If we start breaking up, we can start expecting very explosive moves. And once we break this blue box area, then again we're in price discovery. We're going, and then the only things that we can start going off of are the indicators, because more than that we have nothing to pull horizontal lines off of anymore. So basically, chances are much more upside in the future. In the near future, on the short term, I think first of all, this is going to be an area of accumulation where we are going to see bit by bit more clarity in these reads, and where eventually one of the scenarios that we discussed is going to be confirmed. So keep your eyes open on this. Be very careful. Don't jump the gun. Remember, be more defensive than proactive. Don't think you missed the train. If the train is riding, just let it ride, and then try to make your expectations where you can get your new position, and wait for it. Always wait for it, and this is how you're going to have the best positions possible. All right, so I'm going to leave it for this. It's weekend. I want you guys to enjoy your weekends. Take it easy, take it slow. Think about keeping your trades safe, and most important of all, don't short. Not now. Don't short. Okay. Cool. this is it. I will leave you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow, 12:30 UTC, same time, same channel. Be there, be square. Bye-bye, guys.